Hello, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. Unearthed Arcana introduced 16 new feats, with a couple of them offering support for character concepts that up until this point haven't really been supported mechanically in 5th edition. The chef feat from this UA inspired me to develop a character concept for an adventuring monster hunter chef. In 5th edition, there are currently no classes or subclasses that are based around food, but there is one class that is powered by their tool proficiencies. In this video, I'm going to take the chef feat and pair it with the artificer class to showcase how you can reflavor a class's mechanics to convey a character concept. If you want to see my thoughts on all the feats from the UA feat article, you can click on the icon in the corner or in the link below. With that said, let's get started. Build guides on this channel are built with the following in mind. I'm going to focus on levels 1 to 10 as most campaigns played are in this level range. Builds will be optimized to fulfill the concept but also be effective for combat and roleplay. I will be covering the features in race, class, and background choices that make the build possible. The concept for this character is mixing 1 part monster hunter and 1 part celebrity chef in order to play a traveling chef that has been forced into a life of adventure to hunt monsters, look for rare ingredients, and gather treasure to one day settle down and pursue their dream of opening a world-renowned restaurant. For this build, I'm going with the half-elf race as it is flexible with stats and skills. If you really want to start off with the feat, you can always go with variant human as it offers flexibility and the ability to start off with the chef feat. Another alternate option is to pick an uncommon race to really sell that traveling chef concept. Now here's what the half-elf offers. We get a +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 other stats of our choice. For those choices, I'm going with intelligence and dexterity. We have the average movement speed of 30 feet, dark vision, and we get the Fey Ancestry racial trait. Fey Ancestry gives us advantage against being charmed, and we can't be put to sleep via magic. And at last we get the skill versatility trait, which allows us to pick 2 skills of our choice, which I will reveal later in the video. When it comes to classes, there is no clear translation for a chef in 5th edition. I was trying to find a class with a subclass that could mechanically be reflavored to fit this concept while also being able to support the use of cook's utensils. The Artificer is perfect for this as they have class abilities that support the use of artisan's tools. I'm going with the Alchemist subclass as some of the core abilities from that subclass regarding elixirs can easily be reflavored as making food. When it comes to our background, nothing exemplifies a world traveler better than the Far Traveler character background. Far Traveler provides proficiency with the insight and perception skills, proficiency with a musical instrument or a gaming set of our choice, any one language of our choice, and it also provides a set of traveler's clothes, 1 musical instrument or gaming set we are proficient with, poorly wrought maps from our homeland, a small piece of jewelry worth 10 gold, and a pouch containing 5 gold. We also gain the background feature, All Eyes on You. All Eyes on You lets us gain access to people and places we might not otherwise have access to, like nobles, scholars, and merchant princes. Next up is our stat allocation. For our primary stat, we want to boost intelligence to support our spells, our knowledge skills, and our spell save DC. Next, we prioritize dexterity to boost our armor class and initiative. For our third stat, prioritize constitution for some decent hit points and to help maintain our spell concentration. For our fourth stat, prioritize wisdom to reinforce that this character has a natural instinct when it comes to ingredients and food. This will also help with some skill choices which I will detail in the next part of the video. And finally, for our 5th stat, we'll prioritize charisma with strength being our dump stat. Now for our skills, we're going to take nature and arcana from the artificer class. Nature will be used to recall information on ingredients we would be able to find out in the wild. Arcana is to help the party overcome challenges that require knowledge of the arcane and also add a little touch of magic to our food recipes. From our race, I went with the performance and history skills. The performance skill is totally inspired by celebrity chefs, which should allow us to turn our skills in the kitchen into a show on the go. We will use the history skill to remember recipes we have learned along our travels from a variety of peoples and cultures. Our last 2 skills come from our background, and that would be insight and perception. Insight will allow us to know the intention of any creature we encounter, and perception will allow us to spot any possible ingredients we find along our travels. Next is our languages. With this build, we get a total of 4. By choosing half-elf, we know Common, Elven, and another language of our choice. The Far Traveler background also gives us another language of our choice. My suggestion for these 2 options is to pick 2 uncommon languages that are suited for the campaign you are in. Here are some examples. If you are playing in a Storm King's Thunder campaign, Giant and Draconic would be your best bet. If you're playing in a Descent to Avernus campaign, Infernal and Celestial would be the way to go. The purpose of these open language choices is to make the character feel like a stranger in a strange land while also still being useful for the adventure you are playing. For our proficiencies, we will be able to use light and medium armor, shields, and simple weapons. The basis of this build is with our tool proficiencies. We will be proficient with Thieves' Tools, Tinkerer's Tools, and of course, Cook's Utensils. For our saving throws, we are proficient in Constitution and Intelligence. Next is our starting equipment. We have the choice of 2 simple weapons. I went with a mace, reflavored as a meat tenderizer, and a hand axe, reflavored as a meat cleaver. We have a light crossbow with 20 bolts. For our armor, we have studded leather armor, and we have Thieves' Tools and a Dungeoneer's pack. When it comes to our party roles in combat, this character will be sitting in the back line firing off spells to either crowd control the enemy or buff and heal their allies as a support. For out of combat, this character will swoop in to solve whichever problem the party is stumped on with a creative solution as a troubleshooter. Now let's get into a level by level breakdown. At level 1, we get the ability Magical Tinkering. Magical Tinkering lets us create a small magical device that operates similar to the cantrip Prestidigitation. We can create this small magic item using our Tinkerer's Tools or any of our other Artisan's Tools. When we create that object, it can do one of the following effects. The item can create a light in a 5-foot radius and dim light for an additional 15 feet. It can emit a recorded message that can be heard 10 feet away and is 6 seconds long. Another option is that the item can emit an odor or sound. And the final option, it can create a static visual effect that appears on the surface of the object. It can be 25 word text, shapes, or a mixture of these elements. As an action, we can touch the object to activate the property on it. The amount of times we can use this feature and activate these items is equal to our intelligence modifier. We also are able to cast spells using our tools as a spellcasting focus. Here are some spell recommendations. First, for our cantrips. Acid Splash to mimic throwing hot oil on our enemies. Create Bonfire is to turn the heat up on our enemies and cook them. Message is just a solid cantrip to have to send information to our allies. And Prestidigitation is another great cantrip due to its utility. And now for our level 1 spells. I recommend Grease to lay that bacon fat all over the floor ahead of us, so when an enemy walks right into it, we can light it up and cook them. Purify Food and Drink for a utility spell that fits perfectly for a chef who could turn bad food into something edible. Cure Wounds is a perfect spell to showcase our cooking abilities having curative powers. Catapult is a fun spell that allows us to turn a cooking utensil or stale old bread and turn it into a flying projectile. Fairy Fire is another strong spell providing advantage against our enemies that can be reflavored as throwing flour or spices onto them. And at last, Identify to help our team figure out what kind of magic items they are dealing with. Coming in at level 2, we get the Infused Item ability. Infused Item allows an artificer to magically enhance certain items or create magical items. At this level, we get 4 options with more options added at later levels. Here are my recommendations. Pick up Enhanced Weapon because as a chef, you know how to keep your knives in tip-top shape. Replicate the Alchemy Jug magic item for an unlimited supply of mayonnaise. Replicate a Bag of Holding to keep all your tools and ingredients in one safe space. And the last infusion I recommend is Enhanced Armor because the chef knows how to keep their aprons in great shape. With level 3 we get our subclass, and for this build, as previously stated, I'm going with the Alchemist. Becoming an Alchemist gives us proficiency with Alchemist tools. The first ability we get with this subclass is Experimental Elixir, which can easily be reflavored to fit this character concept. As you can tell by the name, Experimental Elixir produces a liquid concoction that when drunk by someone, they receive a benefit. The elixir for all intended purposes can be reflavored as food this character has made, producing the same effects. Whenever finishing a long rest, we can produce an Experimental Elixir. We roll on the Experimental Elixir table to know the elixir's effect. This is triggered when someone drinks the elixir. They can drink or administer the elixir as an action. We can make 2 elixirs at level 6 and 3 at level 15. We can create additional elixirs by using a spell slot. To determine the elixir's effect, we roll a d6 and match the result to the table provided. Here are the benefits the elixir could provide. If it's healing, the user regains a number of hit points equal to 2d4 plus our intelligence modifier. If it's swiftness, the user's walking speed increases by 10 feet for 1 hour. If it's resilience, the user gets +1 to their armor class for 10 minutes. And if it's boldness, the user can add 1d4 to every attack roll and saving throw for the next minute. If it's flight, the user gains 10 feet flying speed for 10 minutes. And at last, if it's transformation, the user is transformed as if they use the Alter Self spell for 10 minutes. The last level 3 ability we get is the right tool for the job. With Tinker's Tools, we can create a set of Artisan's Tools in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of us. This requires 1 hour of uninterrupted work. This can be done with a short or long rest. If we create a different set of non-magical tools with this feature, the previous set of tools we created with this feature vanish. At level 4 we get the option between an ability increase or a feat, and of course we're going with the feat. We are taking the Chef feat from the Unearthed Arcana article, and here's what this feat provides. We get a +1 to our Constitution, gain proficiency with Cook's Utensils, On a short rest, we can create food for a number of creatures equal to 4 plus our proficiency bonus, and they regain an extra 1d8 worth of hit points. And on a long rest, we can cook any number of treats equal to our proficiency bonus. They last up to 8 hours, and as a bonus action, we can eat one of those treats to gain temporary HP equal to our proficiency bonus. For level 5, we get our subclass feature, Alchemical Savant. We gain a bonus to one roll of the spell. That roll must restore hit points, or be a damage roll that deals acid, fire, necrotic, or poison damage. The bonus is equal to our intelligence modifier. For this character concept, if possible, talk to your DM and see if this feature could be used with chef's utensils instead of alchemist supplies. We also get access to level 2 spells, and here are my recommendations. Enhanceability can be our way to use food to give our allies a buff to their abilities. Enlarge Reduced is an awesome ability we can use on our teammates, on our enemies, or on ourselves, allowing us to use food or other magical ingredients to grow or shrink our targets. Heat Metal is a great offensive spell that will impose disadvantage on our target if they are holding a metal object while doing damage to them every round. Lesser Restoration will help round out our supportive suite, allowing us to get rid of some nasty status effects on us or our allies. At level 6, we get the Tool Expertise ability, which allows us to double our proficiency bonus with any ability check we make using a tool we are proficient with. That means our chef's utensils, thieves' tools, tinker's tools, and alchemist supplies all get a significant boost when we use them for crafting or other creative uses. We also get an additional 2 infusions, and here are my recommendations. Homunculus Servant, which provides us an assistant in the kitchen. Flavor points if your homunculus is made up of food. Resistance Armor to give us or an ally resistance to an element of our choice. Lantern of Revealing to help us locate invisible enemies and hidden objects. And finally, Gloves of Thievery to help us with our sleight of hand or lockpicking skills. Coming in at level 7, we get the Flash of Genius ability. When we, or another creature we see within 30 feet of us, makes an ability check or saving throw, we can use our reaction to add our intelligence modifier to that roll. We can use this ability a number of times equal to our intelligence modifier, and regain all expanded uses after a long rest. This ability will allow us to support our team and come in clutch, helping our teammates push past a failure to succeed. At level 8, we get the choice between another ability increase or a feat, and this time around, I'm going with the ability increase. We are going to improve intelligence to help out with our knowledge skills, increase our chance to hit with our spells, and improve our spell save DC. For level 9, we get another subclass ability, and that is Restorative Regents. Whenever a creature drinks an experimental elixir, they gain temporary hit points equal to 2d6 plus our initiative modifier. We can also cast Lesser Restoration without expending a spell slot and without it being prepared as long as we use our alchemist tools as a spellcasting focus. We can do this a number of times equal to our intelligence modifier, and it recharges after a long rest. This ability pairs nicely with the food we make from our chef feed, as it gives us another viable option to provide temp HP. We also get access to level 3 spells, and here are my recommendations. Create Food and Water is another flavorful way for us to create food with this character. Haste is another great spell that would allow us to buff one of our melee based allies, increasing their movement speed and providing them with an additional attack. Revivify so we can bring our allies back from the brink of death. And my last suggestion is Tiny Servant in order to turn our kitchen utensils into walking kitchen helpers. Finally, at level 10 we get 2 abilities. First we get Magic Item Adept. This allows us to attune up to 4 magic items instead of the standard 3. Also, if we craft a magic item with a rarity of common or uncommon, it takes us a quarter of the normal time and costs us as half as much of the usual gold. And at last we get an additional 2 infusions. Here are my recommendations. Cloak of Protection for a +1 to our armor class and saving throws. Hat of Disguise to let us have access to disguise self, allowing us to get into places we shouldn't be in. Headband of Intellect, if we haven't boosted our intelligence score past 16, this will get us to 19. And the last item is Periapt of Wound Closure, so that we can always stabilize when facing death. This build is fully centered around improving your use of cook's utensils and the chef feat. The build has a variety of ways to heal or bolster the party's hit points. This isn't the only way to play a chef character, but this build just leans into the idea. One option is to take the chef feat and incorporate it into another class to give that character more depth while providing a mechanical benefit. The Drunken Master Monk using their booze to not only help them in combat, but create food is one route you can take. Or you can be an Outlander Survivalist using the Ranger or Druid classes that uses the natural world around them to create delicious food for your party. With that said, I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think of this build in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when new videos are up. You can also find me at the Dungeoneers Pack Discord. A link to the Discord can be found in the description below. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.